Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to our Submission Mastery class, all about the mount position. Thank you for being here. Very happy to spend this afternoon with you guys on the mats. Here to assist me today is one of the future greats. This is Felipe Costa. He is a 21-year-old brown belt monster from Brazil, and spending like 6 months here in the U.S. And he's been here for several months already, working hard and going to all the competitions with us here. And he's going to be helping out. Today's focus is once again about submissions and really working the mindset on how to develop your submissions, maintain position, and get the job done. All right, seal the deal flawlessly and efficiently. All right, and for me, the most powerful position in jiu-jitsu, and the one that I do my best finishing work from, is the mount position. All right, and that's the one I want to share with you today. But you'll be able to take many of the concepts that I talk about in this class and apply it to other positions. All right, really the strategy and the mindset can be easily applied to side control or the back, and allow you to have a better submission awareness and a better understanding of how to finish from those positions, even though we're going to focus on the mount position today. All right. So once again, thank you so much for being here. I know many of you are watching in a different way. All right. Some of you are watching through our Timeless Facebook group right now. Others through the link and with the web page. Some of you may even be watching us directly on YouTube. So don't worry. I have someone on the other end, all right, and he's gonna kind of monitor the different places where you could be watching and let me know what questions we may be getting as it comes through. All right, I'm not going to be able to get over there and look on the screen and see your questions, but I have someone that will message me and tell me your questions on the other side. And so I'll be able to respond to those later on throughout. All right, now he's checking in, and he's telling me to come forward a little bit for the sound. Sorry about that. Hopefully that's a little better. Let me see, make sure that I sound better now. We're going to jump in and get started, all right? Once again, thank you for being here. It says it's perfect, all right? Once again, this is Submission Mastery, all about the mount position, all right? So let's jump in and get started. So, the first thing in regards to developing our finishes, okay, and feeling comfortable when we're in a good position, because even though we are in a good position, sometimes we can still be uncomfortable, all right? We have a fear of losing the position, of losing this opportunity. And so what happens is sometimes we put so much focus in not losing the position that we just hold, right? And then we say, oh, but I'm here, I want to get a finish. And then we just go towards the finish, and maybe we rush and we force something that's not there. So the first thing I want to talk about is how to develop your submission while at the same time controlling the position and blocking the escape options for the other person, okay? If we can do both at the same time, then we can progress comfortably knowing that we're not going to lose position, and we're getting closer to the finish, all right? So we really want both those things to be happening at once, all right? So, in regards to the mount position, the thing that I like to try to focus on is always blocking one side of their escapes, okay? So first, real quick little general controlling details, okay? Knees out, all right? My knees are spread all the way out, so my hips coming down, I'm heavier, and I have a wider base, all right? I'm covering more ground here, all right? So it's harder for him to roll me over. My big toes are in, so if we turn to the side, you'll see I'm trying to almost touch my big toes together underneath his legs, okay? To kind of make it harder for him to get that elbow and knee connection, all right? Now, what I never want to do from the mount position is just this, all right? So common, okay? We're so worried about getting rolled over that we just want to base, all right? The problem here is he can turn and face either direction and make his frames and start his escapes, and I have no block. I have no way to neutralize his escape to that side. Okay, so I'll never just put my hands out like this. All right, I know this is a very common basic thing that you learn in the beginning. As you get to the mount position, however you got here, you know, oftentimes instructors will tell you to base your hands out so you don't get rolled over, okay? And that's fine. But as we progress and we're talking about real, you know, high-level training scenarios, or, you know, not even high-level, just in the academy, I mean, you know, once you're blue belt, you need to understand that I can't allow him to turn both directions, any direction that he wants, all right? I always need to shut it down and start to make his path to escaping smaller and smaller. That way I can stay ahead and you know, make him kind of suffer in this position and start to accept the fact that he's not going to get out easy, okay? The more that we can you know, wear them out and kind of grind them out in this position, the easier the finish is going to be, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm always going to hug the head with one of my arms, okay? Now, many times this might make you feel uncomfortable because now you feel like, oh, I don't have a base to that side, and it gives them more of a chance to roll you over, all right? So, next thing to understand here is, when do I get rolled over? When my head is directly over his head, all right? So if I hold his head and I'm just like this, here for sure, he could push my arm, and here he can bridge and take me over, okay? All right, I'm not using this to really sink down and block him from turning to that side, okay? Because my shoulder isn't all the way connected into his face, and my head is still directly above his head, okay? So what I want to do is when I grab his head, I want to sink my shoulder down and take my head off center. So now I'm over here on this side, okay? And with my head on the floor, I'm going to be so heavy with my weight on this side, it's going to make it impossible for him to roll me over that way, all right? And my shoulder pressure and my smother effect really starts to take effect, okay? And I call it violent hugging and, you know, just referring to like the light, okay? Right here, he can easily see the light. He can see the light from the ceiling, all right? You know, he can see the light at the end of the tunnel. He can see his escape, okay? Once I cover his face with my shoulder, my chest, and I put my head down, now the lights are going out, okay? There's not a lot for him to see, and the smother effect is starting to happen, all right? And what this does is it makes them make mistakes with their elbows, all right? So he needs to keep a perfect frame, nice and low, down here by my hips and my knee, all right? And this is many times how it starts, okay? He's already putting himself into position, and he's turning his head to begin to escape to this side, all right? So what am I going to do? I'm not going to hug his head with this arm. It doesn't make sense. I'm not taking away the light. He can still see the light, all right? I'm going to hug his head with this arm, deep around, and I'm going to turn and bring him back and bring my head to the floor, always keeping his shoulders flat to the mat, okay? If he's lifting a shoulder up, I'm going to bring that shoulder right back down, okay? So now what am I doing? I'm controlling the position, I'm neutralizing and blocking his escapes, and I'm going to better my position at the same time, all right? So from here, now he can only escape to his left, okay? So now he has to change his arms through to get in position to escape to the other side, all right? So watch what happens. He starts over here to his right. I block. As he starts to switch his arms, you see how I move my knee up under this arm, okay? So I take away some of that space and I'm moving myself higher up. The higher up I get, the harder it's going to be for him to escape, okay? Now, he's going to still fight it in and try to get his arms in position, and all that work that he has to do there, all I need to do is switch my arms and take his head again. Sink down. Now he switches again. Boom. I took more space. You see my knee came up one more time. Now, look where I am. I'm all the way onto his sternum, okay, the top of his ribs. I'm not sitting on his hip anymore, all right? So I've progressed higher up. His elbows can't get tight to his body, all right? So I've created separation in his arms, okay? And I've now brought myself up above his hip, so where his bridges won't affect me that much, okay? And now, at this point, I'm really going to be able to control position for a long time, and it's up to me where I want to go. Every control, every style of control has its submission kind of plan built in, okay? So if I'm hugging his head, what are the submissions built into this control? Well, possibly working the arm up, okay? I call this itsy bitsy spider, working his arm up above his head. This could allow me to set up arm triangles, which could lead to the back, and arm triangle Ezekiel's. I could come up to a high mount and start to attack this arm. Maybe I decide that I got one and I want to get the other one, and I work this one up too. Once again, I could attack the arms from here, okay? Even without the arm, I could always put my hand in the collar and work, in the sleeve, and start to attack the Ezekiel's. Many times, the smother is so bad, and they put their arm around your back just to try to kind of get a little bit of space and redirect your body weight, okay? And then they're going to set me up to start to come and work for the spiral armbar monoplotted position, okay? I have mounted triangles and many, many attacks from here, all right? I'm just trying to give you the strategy, okay? So I understand that by hugging the head and violent hugging from here, now he can only escape one direction, okay? And from there, all that work he's got to do to try to escape to that side, I can easily block by switching my arms and sinking down to the other side. And once I get my knees underneath his elbows, now it's going to be super difficult for him to escape. And then many times you'll feel that kind of, that sigh of like, of just like acceptance, you know? And they're going to stop fighting so hard to escape. And that's your time to start to attack submissions, all right? Now, if you've followed my career, then you've definitely seen me use the mounted cross choke. That is by far my favorite finish overall, and definitely the one that I want the most whenever I'm in this position. However, I'll take any of these other ones. Ezekiel's, arm triangles, those are definitely up there. But many times, they know not to make that mistake to let you walk their arm up so much. So let's focus the rest of this class on getting that mounted cross choke and helping you not have that fear of getting rolled over, because that is a big part about putting the hand in the collar. Many people are afraid to do this because they know he's going to hug your arm and try to bridge you over, okay? And from here, we don't have that confidence, and so we're scared to do it. So then what happens? We go back to keeping our arms wide and just basing and only thinking about staying here, and then that allows him to only think about escaping, all right? So we always want to do both at the same time. Remember that even just the threat of a submission many times will help you maintain position. As long as you're only letting them focus on escaping, then that's all they have to worry about. But if they have to worry about their neck, their arm, and escaping, it's too much, and they can never protect all of those or achieve all of those at the same time, all right? For example, let me give you an example before we get into the cross choke. If he had really great hand positioning, or maybe I could tell he was working in my hips and I'm down here holding his head and I can feel his hands in position, I'm going to start to attack an Ezekiel right here, okay? For sure. I mean, he's giving it to me, okay? And what happens most of the time, this gets respect, all right? If not, I'm going to be able to get my hand in, I'm going to choke him. But even just showing that I'm going to do or I'm looking for the Ezekiel, many times his hand's going to come up and block my arm. Yes. And if his hand comes to block my arm, okay, now it's not focused on escaping. So he's protecting his neck, but now he's not escaping, all right? So it's allowing me more time in this position, okay? And then if he's here and he's blocking my arm, okay, now I can come out and put my hand in the collar, all right? This is one of my sequences that I like to use, okay? So if he blocks Ezekiel, I have a wide open path to bring my thumb in, come over, and now work for the cross choke. Now, what's the next thing I'm gonna do? I wanna keep his arms far, all right? I wanna separate his arms. So as I start to work the cross choke, I like to circle through and now put my body in the way of his arm getting control of my choking arm, okay? So now I have his arm out of the way. It's hard for him to get to here, okay? So I try to check and circle this down so now he can't grab my arm, all right? And once again, where am I? Where's my head? It's off center, okay? I know he wants to roll me to my left, so I'm not gonna be up here trying to work this choke because that's the opportunity for him, exactly, to bridge and take me over to the way that I know he wants to take me, all right? Everything is very easily understood here in this position, what they want to do. If they can't escape by recovering their guard, using their frames and their elbows, then he's going to look to bridge, okay? So the more that I settle in, the more that I know he's going to want to bridge, which then tells me to make sure to stay off center, all right? So I'm always over here on my right with my left hand in the collar, okay? Now, I love the thumb in grip. If you've done some of my seminars, or maybe you've studied some of my instructionals already, Top Game Devastation, or any of the other top mount type stuff that I've taught before in the past, some of the live classes, then you know I love the thumb in grip, all right? It is so powerful, so strong. It's not awkward on our wrists, okay? Usually we learn a palm up, palm down variation in the beginning of our mount, lessons and introduction. It's very common to learn, the traditional palm up, palm down. This can be very uncomfortable on the wrist, and it's not an easy finish, okay, by any means. Once I made the switch to palm down, double palm down, probably about, 6 years ago or so, I've never gone back, and it's completely had a massive impact on my game as a whole, all right? From all positions, not just the mount. The way that I pass, the way that I do side control, knee in the belly, everything. The way I deal with half guard because of this grip, all right? Even last night, I posted a little highlight of me doing several cross chokes. They were all double palm down, okay? So in case you haven't learned this from me already, let me break it down just a little bit. The beauty of the palm down, thumb in, is it's more comfortable and easy for me to stay off center, okay? Imagine I can't even turn my wrist palm up, and stay off center, okay? So it's very comfortable and easy for me to stay off center with the palm down grip. Now, the second thing, and probably the most powerful thing about the thumb in grip, is the fact that I can cinch it up. So while I'm down here resting on my elbow, making sure that I'm far from getting rolled over that way, which I definitely am, I can grab this lapel and cinch it so I can sink my hand. Look how I slide along the back of his gi and tighten this grip. Now it's starting to choke him a little bit, okay? For sure, he can feel the difference, all right? If I just lean into it a little bit, he's already almost ready to tap, okay? And this is the big secret, guys. We make this first grip so tight that by the time the second hand goes, the finish is very easy. You don't have to squeeze much. They're gonna tap pretty quick, all right? Because it's already choking them, all right? It's extremely tight, okay? This is just like game changing, all right? This had such a powerful, powerful impact on my life, all right? And I'm sharing it with you guys today, okay? So I'm here, cinch this all the way in, super strong, okay? Now he's feeling it, all right? So I definitely need to be wary of those Hail Mary last-ditch effort, huge bridges, all right? So what can I not do? I can't come right back up into this line of danger right here where I know he can roll me over, okay? If I come back up and I start to look for that second grip, he's gonna grab and he's gonna go, okay? So I've done everything right. I'm not gonna mess it up, all right? So I can go off center, I can go above, and I can come back, all right? So I'm always in base and I'm always safe. My other hand's always on the mat. So I'm here, look, boom, boom. He bridges here. My hand's there, I'm basing, I'm good. And now I'm gonna use my elbow to turn his face, get my second grip, just a fast grip right on top of his shoulder, drop my head, add my squeeze. There it is. I put my head on the side that I know he would want to roll me to, okay? It goes right on top of the top hand, right next to the top hand, okay? And this is it right here, all right? So I'm in. Maybe I was on the head, smothering him real nice, okay? Maybe I already cleared that arm out of the way, all right? Once it's out of the way, now I like to bring my arm over. I stay here, keep this arm out, grab the lapel, cinch the grip, okay? Now it already has pressure, all right? But you see, my chest, everything's on top of the shoulder. There's no way he can lift that shoulder to bridge and take me over that way, all right? The key here is now the ending. Don't come up and go here, all right? I don't want to say that that's like never gonna work. It could if he's just like dead, you know? But ideally, I don't want to risk it, all right? So I go forward. Let's turn. Look how I lean forward, all right? So right now, my head is kind of right over him. When I'm going for the finish, I go here, okay? So it's above his head, and my hips are higher. They're not on top of his hips. I stay in base, stay in base, stay in base. Churn his face, make my second grip, drop down, boom. Super tight, okay? Super tight. This is a done deal. This is one of the most amazing techniques because basically everybody knows, I mean, if you're mounted with the hand in the collar, they know that you want that cross choke, all right? But it's so unstoppable. It's so hard to avoid, you know, that choke, even though you know it's coming, all right? Your arms in back position. They've got that first grip super deep. There's no, you know, there's no hope except for that bridge. And if they're doing a good job of staying off center and always having that hand for base, you're not gonna be able to bridge them off, and then boom, there it is. And this is how I've been able to make this work at you know, the highest level black belt competition against the best in the world that, of course, know what I want to do there. But you know, it's that unstoppable. And the real power in the mount is the way that you can smother them before this finish. All right, and this is why I love the mount position so much. All right, you know, many of you might be thinking in your head already, but what about the back? Isn't the back the most powerful position because they can't see you, you're behind them, you know, and the way you can attack them from behind, you know, there's no real ability to like hang on from there. But in many ways, I find that that's not the case. There is a good way for them to hang on. They can survive the position itself. You know, if I have someone that's doing a good job of protecting the neck, and you know, maybe they don't even have much of the neck, their shoulders they have big, broad shoulders, and they're able to stay here and do this number, you know, it can be very, very difficult to get the neck. And then, of course, there's the arm. But listen, if we're talking about a big, broad shoulder, strong guy here, you know, going to the arm is kind of worst case scenario, you know what I mean? It's very likely they're going to have a strong armbar defense as well, and maybe we land on bottom and then they're stacking us, and all that sort of thing can happen. What we can't do on the back is smother them. That whole thing about not letting them see the light, when we're on their back, they're literally seeing the light the whole time. You know, we're not taking away that space, and that's something that we can do from the mount that we can't do anywhere else. Okay, and this is where the mount in itself can be a powerful submission. All right, you know, I've traveled all over the world and done seminars, trained, competed, and it's not uncommon that whenever I'm mounting someone, you know, you can, if they're not used to it, if they haven't felt it, you know, it's not uncommon for someone just to tap from the mount position in itself because of the way you smother them. If you have any issues with claustrophobia, or you know, if you miss a breath, if you need to breathe, and I'm right there in that space, and my chest and, you know, my gi, the fabric or whatever, the sweat is right there, you know, and you miss a breath, like sometimes people can freak out, and they, you know, they'll just want to tap from the mount itself. So, I mean, the violent hugging is kind of a submission in itself, and that really primes and kind of cooks them, gets them ready for an easy cross choke finish. All right. Now, I don't want to say that the back's not powerful, side control is not powerful. I mean, you see, I have a lot of submission finishes from those positions as well. I love the kimura from the side. I love a bow and arrow. I love reverse triangles and all the great attacks that we can get on the back. But nothing to me as sure of a done deal than the mount position. All right, I've missed the back. I've missed side control. You know, to me, it's a lot easier to survive those positions than to survive my mount position, all right, because of that smother. So, you know, use that smother. Make them feel like they're drowning. That's a common response that I'll get. And some of you out there that maybe, you know, train with some great mounters like Hodger Gracie, for example. I mean, 100% you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know, Rodolfo Vieira, some of these other monster pressure passers, they're all mounters. And the thing about the mount is, you know, going back to that mastery mindset, if you work the mount position, okay, we can get really good at the back and never really have to pass that much, especially with the game nowadays, with the leg drags and the berimbolos and all the ways to get behind someone without actually passing their guard, okay? You know, and side control is great too. Maybe we're passing, but if we're going to the side to get side control, many times what happens is you only develop your passing to go that way. You're only going to the side, all right? You're just going to the side. And you're missing a whole nother direction, which is going right through the middle, down the center, straight to the mount position, all right? And so what I'm getting at is, as you develop your mount position and you're taking your game to the mount more and more and more, you're gonna develop so many other secondary skills that are extremely powerful, because you're literally giving yourself the hardest path. It's the hardest route, quite honestly. It's not easy to mount people, okay? I love to do it. I love that feeling of dominance, and, you know, for me, nothing feels better than to mount. But what happens is, you know, in training, as you're only trying to finish people from the mount, what are you doing? First, you're having to sweep or take down, all right? You have to get on top. You have to pass their guard. You have to not let them recover their guard, keep them flat, not let them turtle, progress from the side or from the half to the mount without getting bridged. You know, you have to keep them flat. And then once you're in the mount, you have to control them, maintain that position, not lose it, and then finish them. And so there's so many skills that you're developing: the ability to apply the pressure, to apply your weight, not get rolled over, block all their escapes in so many different ways, you know, from the side, from, you know, not letting them recover their guard, blocking their escapes in the mount position itself. So what happens is you get this massive skill set built into your game by forcing yourself to take that longest path to the finish. It's like clearing all their pieces off the chessboard to where it's just their king, and then you put them in checkmate. All right, that's how I relate finishing from the mount position. It's like I took all your pieces, all right, all your escapes, your sweeps, your guard, your recovery, your framing, your bridging, all of that. I wipe the board clean, and then you take their neck. All right, and so, you know, to be able to take away all those pieces is going to give you so many skills, all right? You can just knock someone over, leg drag, spin, get behind them, and take their back. They still have a lot of pieces that you never had to deal with, and you can finish them, and that's great too. But, you know, for me, in my style, you know, I love to pass. I love to put myself in that grind. And then what happens is, you know, when I take the gi off and I go to no gi, all right, because I have that understanding of how to smash half guards, you know, and keep someone flat and smother, you know, all these skills are easily transferable into no-gi. And then MMA for me as well came very natural, because MMA, nothing's better than mounting, all right? In fact, the back in MMA is very, very difficult. If you don't choke someone right in the second that you get there, with the gloves on, they can hang on, you know, survive, they can see the light, and you can't do damage. all right? It's very difficult to do damage on the back. But from the mount, I mean, now we have a whole nother story. You talk about opening the game up. I mean, if I just raise up, you give them one good strike, one good elbow, they're going to expose a submission. So for me, I found that inside the timeless jiu-jitsu mindset, what's going to last for me forever, for all areas of combat, it's the mount position, all right? If I can mount and master the mount, you know, I'm going to have something so powerful that will last forever. I mean, it doesn't matter if I'm 40 years old, about to be 40 soon, you know, 50, 60 years old, I can mount for the rest of my life. You know, that's not going to be dependent on you know, being super athletic, all right? If I can mount someone and then I can smother them and wear them out, it doesn't matter if they're 20 years old and I'm 60, I'm going to make them suffer in that position, and I'm going to make them give me that neck, all right? That's what I'm looking forward to. That's part of the timeless jiu-jitsu mindset, and that's a big deal of what I wanted to share with you today. So I hope that made sense, and I hope you got some details with your violent hugging, okay? Always blocking one side, putting your pressure, smothering them, making the position itself like a submission, all right? It's basically a submission just in itself, okay? And then from there, we can get our cross choke, all right? Thumb in, all right? That's a big thing that I share with you today as well, if you didn't already know that, okay? So let me check in. Let me see if we got some questions coming in. I have my friend on the other line paying attention. I think I did see some stuff pop up here on YouTube. I want to help you guys out and talk any more about whatever questions you may have. So I'm sure he's going to be typing right now and letting me know what you guys are saying there. And let me kind of chip away at some of these questions, and hopefully at this point you've seen you know, some of the opportunities and the offers that are popping up on the screen in regards to joining my Timeless Jiu-Jitsu Academy. I'm so excited about this. I've put a lifetime of work and knowledge into this new membership website, and we've already had several new members join today, and I'm just really excited for this new chapter of helping people online and sharing my knowledge, and you know, all my friends, all the great people that I get to learn from are going to be a part of this website, and there's just an amazing amount of content. Right? I can go on and on. There's information on the page. Please consider joining. I would love the opportunity to work with you and do these sort of classes like this all the time with you, and answer your questions and help you achieve all your goals and hit the next level inside your game, all right? So anyways, I got some questions. Let me see. Okay, good questions coming in. From John Park. Is it feasible to play mount against a much larger opponent? An opponent so big that my knees can't touch the ground. All right, so great question, John. And I will, you know, perfectly honest, it will be much more difficult for sure. All right. I still like to teach and encourage my smaller guys, my lightweights, featherweights, to develop their mount position. And here's why. Well, number one, if you're against someone your size, like if you're competing in your weight class, it's still going to work just the same, all right? Everything is normal. Number two, it gets big reactions even out of those big guys, all right? So it will be harder for you to stay on because they are much bigger than you and stronger than you, but because we're over them and you start to get them to press and kind of bench press off of you, number one, they're going to still use a lot of energy, and you're going to wear them out. Number two, we're going to be ready to maneuver inside of that and find your back take, okay? In that situation, definitely taking the back is going to be one of your most powerful options as a smaller person versus a bigger person. So let's imagine, okay, if you can, that I'm a small guy, okay? Felipe is not a small guy, so you know, it's very possible that he could power me off one day, okay? And maybe I feel like I don't have any control, and he gives a big bump, and I kind of like get a little bit of space, okay? And he lifts me up. Let's turn this way. All right? So he's able to press and get me up, but then boom, I hit my knee in the belly. All right? As a smaller guy, switching from the mount to the knee and the belly is going to be amazing, because now we're going to get the next likely reaction, which is him pushing my knee off and turning. Guess what? There's our back, all right? So now I can do, the very common drill you see a lot of people doing, all right? The little back step drill where I step, drop my arm, and back step here to now open up my opportunity to take his back. So look, when we turn, right after our back step, I want to shrink down, okay? And if you're smaller, that'll be easy. You're already going to be kind of down in this space, but for me, especially being longer, I have to really mentally kind of even visualize making myself smaller, okay? So I make myself smaller so I can now start to get my chest connected to his back as I bring my leg through and make my seatbelt, all right? Now from here, I can do a little 1-2. I'm going to slide my knee behind his head and step over his body at the same time. And here, I'm ready to do my little backpack drill. And now start to get into bow and arrow position, all right? So, what happens is, as a smaller person, you're more likely to get those bigger reactions because they know they can get away with it, all right? And if I just passed Philippe's guard here, for example, imagine I'm smaller, okay? And I do a nice pass, and he's pushing me. He's trying to get away with that. If I just stay on the side, it can be very hard for me to make myself get all the way around his head, okay? But because they tend to make these mistakes and over push, here's my opportunity to now go right through the middle and hit him out immediately. Now when he goes to react and push again, now I can hit back to the side. And I'm getting closer too. Many times I can now find the head and get a better side control going from mount to the side than from passing the guard and going to the side, all right? So, a lot of times especially in no-gi, if I feel a little slippery and I'm losing that mount, I'll come to my knee in the belly, and then as they push my legs, boom, I'm able to get the head and really sink into a strong side control, all right? But even then, if I can't maintain it and he starts pushing me and getting a lot of space, and I feel my knee come down back to the floor, all right, now I can go around, 1, 2, boom, and here I'm ready to be the backpack, all right? So, we never want to limit our directions, okay? It's something I talk a lot about, especially in regards to the mount position, like, don't just pass to the side. And inside of that, usually you only pass left, all right? I guarantee everyone watching on the other side here, 80 to 90% of you, if you ask yourself, okay, which way do I look to pass? I guarantee your bullfights, your X passes, your knee cuts, the majority of the stuff you do, probably 80% of you at least, is primary to your left, okay? And that's very normal because we're all right-handed, all right? So we like to have that right hand, kind of posted on their body, our right leg's forward, which means we knee cut with our right leg, and that means going to our left, okay? Now, what's happening is we're only going one way, so we're a lot easier to predict, a lot easier to defend against, and everyone naturally has way more defense built in over there because 80% of the world is used to that, all right? So we can't just go left. We also have to go right, all right? We have to have a good passing game going the other direction. And then, once you have both those sides, where else can we go? Right down the middle, all right? Passing half guards, going directly to the mount position, that is a huge direction that you don't want to miss out on. And inside of that is where you really learn how to use your weight, because now we're putting our weight right on top of them. And they're going to try to bridge us. They're going to try to use their butterfly hooks to get us up and over and get underneath. And that's where we develop those skills that can really set you apart. Because everyone loves the side. Most people, all the seminars I do around the world, and I say, who here prefers side control of a mount? 80% of the room raises their hand, all right? And everyone loves side control of the mount because they feel safer there. And that's why I wanted to focus on the mount position with you today. I feel like that's one of the most powerful things that I have to give to other people because it is very unique. It's a lot more rare. And so what happens is people's framing and their protection and their escapes from the mount position aren't that developed. Even high-level black belts, because they're not used to getting put there. They're not used to training with people that love to use the mount position. Everyone loves the side and the back. And so once you start to smother someone and put your weight and put your pressure, you have a difference maker. All right, that's something that not everyone's used to, and that can be a real difference maker inside your game. So even going back to how all this started, even for a small person, the mount, you don't want to neglect a complete direction. All right, and so even against against a bigger opponent, still mount. You might have to come off to knee in the belly, but it still opens things up and doesn't limit your direction of attacks. All right. Got quite a few more questions coming through. Let me see. William Shadwick, any concern with getting rolled right at the point of going to finish the cross collar choke before you base with the head on the mat? It's possible. There is those last ditch efforts, and if I need to, I can always, if I'm there and I didn't get my head down yet and I feel like I'm going, I let go and I base, and then I can come right back. Okay, so I don't want to land on bottom. The only time that I might let myself get rolled over is if I hear the gargling and I know, it's in, and I'm just going to keep squeezing as I fall over, maybe I'll risk it in those instances. However, let go and restart, okay? And worst case scenario, and this is going to get back to the mindset as well, all right? Which I always love to teach my whys and what I'm thinking, okay? Because that is the stuff that can make the biggest difference for you in your game, all right? More than any one technique, if I can get you a little bit of the mindset, that can carry with you for the rest of your life, whether you use this exact technique or position or not, all right? So first let me explain the situation, and then I'll get back more to the mindset. So if I'm here and I'm about to go, and I'm like, I can, Felipe, he's struggling, but he makes me let go and base. Okay, no problem. He starts to escape again. I see which way his eyes are looking. He's looking to his right, okay? So now, bang, my left arm comes, and I reset and I restart. Maybe it happens right away. Maybe I was smothering him nice, and I block that arm, and I bring my arm over to start choking him, and then he's able to get this arm through, and he starts to escape to the proper direction. All right, he has to escape that way. Why? Because I'm blocking his escape this way with my arm in his neck, okay? So if he starts to escape that way, guess what? I'm gonna come back, boom, and I'm gonna start again, all right? I'm gonna keep these shoulders flat. I'll tell you, the last thing I wanna do is have to go to a technical mount. If he turns and I have to do this is the last worst case scenario, okay? I know many of you are thinking, why? This is still a great position for you. I'll tell you, the vast majority of the times that I end up losing the mount position is from here, okay? It's not from here, all right? I don't lose the mount when I'm like this, okay? Why? Because now he's on his side, all right? He's, his shoulders off the mat. He's more powerful. He has more movement. He has more hip mobility. His knees can connect to his elbows a lot easier, and he can sneak his legs in here, and then boom, get me off balance, and now I'm in an X guard, or I end up in a deep half guard or something like that. So, number one mindset from the mount, don't lose the mount. Keep them here as long as you have to. If that means that I have to let go, he starts to escape and I have to let go and restart, no problem, okay? No problem. I'll restart the game, all right? And here's some mindset stuff. Going back to what I was talking about earlier, and the way that you might feel uncomfortable and you get anxious, and you feel like, oh, now it's time for me to go for a submission, and you throw up some kind of attack that maybe isn't really there, but you almost feel like a pressure, to go for something, to try to capitalize on being in that position, all right? I'll tell you that, 90% of the mistakes that I see when people are in the mount position is because of their own impatience, all right? Because they feel like it's on them to keep doing something, to move, to transition to the next move, and to kind of keep flowing, and keep the movement happening. Listen, you're in the best position possible, all right? You're in the most powerful position that exists. There is no need for you to do anything, all right? Just smother them, hold them, okay? If it was a real life combat situation, okay? And I use this analogy a lot. The experience of fighting in MMA really changed the way I view jiu-jitsu and had a very positive impact on my jiu-jitsu, even though it might not be necessarily technical things. It's the mindset, all right? If it was real life combat, of course, you could go to an armbar or whatever. You could transition to another thing, but what's your number one thought? Control them. Stay in that position, because they can't do damage to you, and you can do damage to them. And you are in complete control. They're not getting up. They're not escaping. They're not going anywhere. All right? I mean, you can slap them in the face, or you can elbow them in the face, or you could simply just hug them and hold them. Right? And wait for help to arrive or whatever. All right? You're not going to put in your mind, okay, I've got them out position. Referee gave me my points. All right, it's time to go for an armbar. You know what I mean? That thought of having to do something wouldn't exist if it was a real combat situation. You're going to stay there and beat that person up, or just hold them until help arrives. And that's how the mindset should be in jiu-jitsu as well. All right. Don't get impatient. Don't rush. Don't force something that's not there. And remember, even in IBJJF competition, there is no stalling from the mount position. All right, they will never call the person on top for stalling, because you're already at the finish line. There's no more positions for you to go to. But if you're in side control, if you're in knee in the belly, wherever else you might be, there's another place for you to go. If you're in side control, you can go knee in the belly. If you're knee in the belly, you can go to the mount. And so they'll call you for stalling from those positions. But from the mount, it does not exist. And I know this for a fact, all right? I was in the rules meeting. I've done the rules meetings several times, the certificate and the certification, and that is a fact. So I'm always big on reminding my students that, for the competitions, like, look guys, when you get them out, just keep them flat, just smother them, stay there. Ride the clock out if you have to. Of course, we want to finish, but let the finish come to you, all right? Develop it little by little, and if I have to, I let go and I restart. And understand that the next time, if I had a good choke in, and he made me let go to base, and then I had to go back to hugging him and restarting, listen, that's not the same person that he was 10 seconds ago. You almost have it, okay? It's even more, that energy bar, you're just chipping away at it. You're making it smaller and smaller and smaller. There's no such thing as a failure necessarily. If you made them react and use energy and, you put pressure on them physically, mentally, technically, they are wearing down, okay? So don't ever think of something as a failure, all right? If it didn't work the first time, that's okay. Reset, start again. It'll be easier now for the next one or the next one, okay? Keep going, keep going. You're chipping away at them, all right? There's no such thing as a failed pass. If you almost swept somebody and they happen to recover, that's okay. Now you're ready to get the next reaction. Take advantage of the next reaction, all right? If I almost omoplata someone and they pull out, well, now he's going to be a lot more scared of his arm, or maybe he's going to give me something else, My wrestling coach always tells me, look, there's no such thing as a failed shot. If you took the shot and you made them sprawl and you made them defend, you've earned their respect on that. So the next time when you feint, he's got to respond. And then that feint leads to the next thing, So the mindset, okay? Number one, don't force anything. Let it come. Number two,
If you have to let go and restart, it's okay. You're still in the best position there is, and you're chipping away at them. You're breaking them down. The longer you're there, the more likely you're going to finish them. All right, that's plain and simple. All right, that truth is 100%. So keep yourself there. Don't get there and then immediately try this and that. All right. Many in like my highlights, you'll see that usually once I get to the mount, I do submit them pretty quick from there. Why? Because of the way that I passed, the way that I got there. They had to already go through a lot of pressure, and I can feel that they've already been broken. And that's something that you can do by mounting someone, going back to all those skills that I mentioned and the way you smother them and pressure them. You can't do that if you just and get on someone's back in 10 seconds. All right? If you get on their back really quick, they're still going to have a lot of fight left in them. Okay? And so many times that harder path to the mount, yes, it's more work, but then once you get there, they're already so broken that the finish is actually pretty easy, all right? But you need to recognize that. Understand, okay, I got here pretty quick. I need to be careful because he has energy left in the tank. I don't want to get rolled over, and smother them a little more, all right? I know I just talked a lot about that, but I really want to get the mindset in there, all right? Someone else asked about crossing my feet in mount. That's something I'll do a little more no gi, so my legs don't slide out so easily. In the gi, not as much, all right, not as much. I actually, when we lock our feet, we kind of take away our own little hip mobility, and so it'll be harder for me to adjust and take arm bars and things like that because I'm locking myself in that position. So, you can if you feel like you need to. I can't really say there's something wrong with it specifically. Just understand that you're taking away a little bit of your mobility. Now in no-gi, where I'm less likely to go for the arm, I'm really going to kind of do a lot more smother and focus on my arm triangles, even setting up mounted triangles, guillotines, things like that, monoplata's, those things I will have to let go of my feet, but like for the arm triangle and just the smother that I want to bring in no-gi, then it is a little more likely that I'm going to keep that I will cross my feet. But it's not necessary, okay? But if it makes you feel a little more comfortable, I will say that it's okay. Just understand that it limits you a little bit. I'm going to do a few more, and then we'll start to close things out here. Is he pinching his heels to their body and dropping his hips the entire time, especially as he climbs up the body? I find myself wanting to pinch my knees into the body a lot. Do not pinch your knees into the body. This is from Aaron Hamilton. If you squeeze your knees, you are much easier. You are an easier object to get rolled over and kind of lose your balance and lose your control. All right, you're more connected to them. Okay, and so their big movements will affect you more because you are more connected to them. You're putting more of your body connected to their body. So you want to spread and sink your hips down, and with those wide knees, you'll have a better base. All right. Now there are moments where I'll almost like pinch my heels or bite my heels into their thigh to allow me to use my hands. All right. Let me clarify that. So let's go to the side. Especially in the very end of my cross choke, okay? As I have my hand in the collar and I'm getting ready to make my move. Right here, I'm gonna let go of my hand off the mat, so I don't have this pushing me up anymore. So I'm gonna kind of use my heels to lock me on to where now I can use this hand without having a base, okay? So kind of lock on my heels until my head drops. Once my head drops, I can open, relax again, and then squeeze. So there is a little moment there where my heels, almost like you're riding a bull, how you have to kind of pinch. That is a moment where I will need to do that. But please do not ever pinch your knees, okay? That's not really ever going to be a good idea and will definitely make you more susceptible to getting rolled over, all right? So, which subs I look for the mount, I just talked about that. Arm triangle is going to be the best, 100%. and then the arm triangle will expose pathways to take the back as well. Even Kimura, I mean, sometimes I'm able to, really dominate the wrist and make a Kimura grip and then dismount and transition to the Kimura. But I would say that the arm triangle is pretty number one, and that's where that smother and that violent hug really comes into play. You're more likely to get them to kind of use their forearm in your neck. Okay, let me explain. The other thing about no-gi is you're going to have a sweaty chest in your face. So, it's not the cloth, but it's your must, if you will, that will be your submission setup from there, all right? So, I want to work this arm up, but of course, he's going to want to resist that. But what I like to do is I like to put my hand on their shoulder, okay, and their armpit, and really maximize this shoulder pressure. And if he's resisting, fine. But this smother in itself is going to make it a lot more likely for him to want to use his forearm in my neck, okay? And if he does that, now I'm going to have the ability to start to cross that arm over, okay, using my Itsy Bitsy Spider. And even if it's a little strong here, I'll just put my hand on top of his head, and then I'm gonna slide up and smother him more. Look, you can't even see Felipe's face anymore, all right? Once I do this, now I'm just gonna smother more to where I almost wait for the reaction of him turning to his left, okay? Just to try to find a way out, and then he lets me pass that elbow, all right? And I mean, this kind of stuff in the gi, you could say, I don't want to say it's worse, it's bad in a different way because of all the cloth, and so it's a lot harder for him to find air pockets. But then in no-gi, he's going to get all my sweat in his face, and that's equally as bad, but just different. But this is the vibe, I mean, I could do this all day. Just smother and let the position come to you, okay? And of course, in the gi, I had the option that if I'm not able, to work this arm up and he's really resisting, then I can always just go into the hand on the collar and immediately start to clear this arm out of the way, all right? We're definitely looking at, separating his arms far from each other to keep him from being able to do this, where he can turn his shoulders as much, okay? So trying to get in this inside space is where I want to be. And this helps me set up the lapel. In no-gi, I'm going to work a lot of working on the wrist, feeding the wrist and getting different reactions, okay? This many times will force him to turn through, where now I can feed the other wrist. And this is how I set up a lot of my ground and pound in MMA, things like that. Other things that I developed in MMA that I was able to bring into my no-gi game, even my gi game, is just understanding the wrist and how to keep people down, all right? In jiu-jitsu, everyone's very accepting. Like, there's always one person that says, okay, I'm playing guard. In MMA, everyone's trying to get up. No one wants to be on their back. And so you're constantly having to keep that person down, and that makes your understanding of positioning and how to apply your weight and keep someone flat, it takes it through the roof because they are 100% at all times looking to get up. And that was another thing that really even took my gi game and my pressure game to another level because of that vibe that I was feeling in MMA. It completely changed. I mean, it didn't change. I already did a lot of the pressure, but it just took it to the next level because now I have someone that's not just trying to recover their guard, but they're looking to get up, which just doesn't really happen that much in jiu-jitsu. So we got a couple more here, last ones. You are known for your amazing pressure. Can you give any tips on how to make them feel like they are drowning from your pressure? So I've talked a lot about that, the smothering, the head position. Understand that your head needs to, if I'm inside the guard, if I'm still passing the guard, if I'm getting inside the half and things like that, the pressure is going to really come from your head position. So, and this is from Tillman Keatle, okay? Let's say I'm in the guard, all right, like the half guard, okay? A lot of times, let's turn it this way here. A lot of times, because we're taught about the power of the hips, I see people when they get in these positions, they kind of stay down and want to control the person's hips. And I don't want to say this is completely wrong, because there are some passes that I can do from here, and there is some validity to it. But here's the problem. Especially, with bigger guys, they're going to be so strong with their pushing and framing, okay, that the more I stay down by his hips, the more he can use his arms in a proper way, okay? His arms are going down his body, all right? So he's not technically bench pressing. And then from here, his hip's going to have a lot of power to move out. Scapa quadril. And once he does that, now he can recover his legs, okay? He can get his knee shield back in front of me, all right? So anytime that I start to get past someone's knees, I don't keep my head down by their hips. I want to put my head completely above his head, all right? It doesn't matter if he has his arms in front of me or not. I'm going to open myself and I call it making my presence felt, As big as you are, you might be, 5'6", or you might be 6'6". It doesn't matter, but cover as much space as you can. Don't make yourself small, because now he's going to be stronger, okay? So I'm going to make my presence felt. I'm going to start to take my head over his head. Now look what happens to his arms. Now he's pushing me up, okay? And then I'm making his elbows get further from his knees, all right? Which is a key in his ability to recover his position, all right? So if I make my presence felt and I bring myself over, now it's far for him to get his elbow to his knees, and I'm very close to being able to bring my knee over and force the mount position, okay? So head position. And if he doesn't have those arms there, okay, if his arms aren't there, then I'm going to be able to get his head and bring my head all the way there next to his head, okay? And this is where, if you like to go to the side, you might miss out on some of these technical skills, all right? Because you're not going that way. You're always going to be looking to free your knee and maybe cut and go over here. And if he's on his side, then he can block me going to the side, okay? The simple fact of you going to the side usually leads to them getting to their side, all right? You almost bring them that way, okay? And so that's something about going directly to the mount that is pressure. It's hard to have pressure and only go to the side, okay? Pressure is mounting, all right? And so if I think that I want to mount someone from here, I'm not going to put my head over here and go this way, all right? If I want to mount, I'm going to start to go over and drive my knee, and it kind of fixes everything for me, okay? Of course, there's technical details inside of that, many little details, but if you just tell yourself that you want to go straight to the mount, you're almost going to make a lot of those adjustments happen by themselves, just because now you're not going that way. I'm going to go this way. And then you see his shoulders get flat. My head goes further forward. His arms start to become bench pressing arms. And all this space opens up for you to drive your knee over, okay? This is a big thing in my teachings. I have a lot of material about this going into the Timeless Jiu-Jitsu website. I mean, pressure is definitely Timeless Jiu-Jitsu to me, 100%. What is it? It's slow. It's using our weight, our gravity. It's not athleticism, okay? It's not speed and being on our feet and running around. All right? That's for this guy, okay? That's for the young guys. He's 20 years old. He can run around all day. I don't want to run around, all right? Not at all, okay? I want it to be slow, and I just want to lay on people and let my body and the gravity do all the work for me, all right? And make them tired. And that's what's going to be timeless. I know that I'm going to be able to pass very well even into my old age, because my body's going to be, it might be a little more achy and sore or tight, but I'm still going to weigh, 200 plus pounds, and I'm going to have the understanding of the body positioning and how to apply my weight to the utmost, and that's timeless, and so it's better to start spending your time on that now and not doing what everyone else is doing necessarily, as far as running around and, doing a lot of drags and inversions and crab rides and going upside down to take the back. I mean, it's beautiful, But are you really going to be doing that in your 40s? Probably not. You know, you're probably going to want to just hold people down and slow it down and take away their movement. And that's where pressure passing is timeless. You can do that forever. So that's one reason why I really love to preach it and teach it. It's one of my passions inside of my passion of jiu-jitsu, and it's going to be a huge element to my Timeless Jiu-Jitsu website. So you'll be able to learn so much of that. You'll learn more and more of the mindsets of all the positions, my whys, you know, and you're also going to get to learn from some of these young guys like this guy and Victor Hugo and many other legends that are going to be a part of it. You know, the content is crazy. My seminars, live classes like this, live classes that I teach here at home for my students, competition breakdowns, training breakdowns, you know, and so much more. I mean, it goes on and on. All my series that I do for BJ Fanatics, you know, some of you may have some of those products. If you get inside the Timeless Jiu-Jitsu website now as a VIP, you're going to be able to get your hands on those Fanatics releases as soon as they come out, before anyone else, without having to buy them from Fanatics. They're going to be part of the Timeless site. So that's a couple of the special bonuses that we're offering right now for the VIP. So please don't miss the opportunity. Let me just see here if there's anything I missed. I think I answered basically some of these other questions I think I naturally answered them inside of these other discussions. And in case you don't see the link and all the information about Timeless Jiu-Jitsu Academy, just refresh your page and it should be there, all right? Let me see, I think there's one more here from Matt Travis. Okay. So, question from Matt Travis about, I think it's a little bit of the kipping escape, all right? And sounds like he's got a big guy that, locks his arms out against his hip and is able to wiggle and get his knees in, all right? He'll pinch his knees to delay the escape, but can never stop it. Okay, I understand, all right? And here's the deal, Matt, and this is, let's get in there, okay? So, for sure, there are some people that are really good at this escape. Let's back up down here. All right, the kipping escape and wiggling and getting their knees in, okay? Essentially, if I'm bent over, he can get me up and get his knees inside my legs, and you end up falling into like a butterfly, all right? This escape is predicated on me being bent over, okay? Now, if I have his head, and I have his head smashed over to the side, it's gonna be substantially more difficult for him to do it, all right? I don't wanna say it's impossible though, but it will be much more difficult. But if I feel like, Felipe, he's got a big gas tank, he's got a lot of energy, and I feel those hands on my hips, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna sit up, okay? Because when I'm sitting up, now he doesn't have the ability to push my hips up, okay? So I'm just gonna sit up, all right? And now I'm gonna change my path, okay? My strategy, all right? And I'm gonna try to focus on these hands a bit, okay? If I can start to get inside and get wrist control, okay? Now I can redirect these arms wherever I wanna go and change my attack process. And as long as I can get one pin, now I can go in the collar, all right? And I'm essentially doing the same thing. If you notice in my Top Game Devastation and a lot of my half guard passing and teachings, I talk a lot about wrist pinning, all right? Once again, this is influence of my MMA training and experience, all right? And one thing to remember too, just so you know, in combat, if I'm up like this, what do I get to do? You know what I mean? So for MMA guys, I help them see to recognize, okay, they're about to escape. Sit up, okay? And when I'm up here, even if he bridges, I can just stay on his hips, all right? So in MMA, when I won my legacy title, all right, I fought a very good jiu-jitsu black belt, and I was able to TKO him from the mount position with ground and pound. And I remember the commentators talking about, oh, the mount's such a hard position to maintain, and he's doing it to another black belt, and blah, 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 blah. And this was all I did. I kept my hips heavy, but with my knees out, all right? And so when he lifts, I just stay here. If my head goes forward and I'm like this, now he lifts, boom, this is when I have to post, all right? So here, I can stay here all day and strike. He lifts his hips, I ride it, okay? And usually, after he lifts, when his hips go down, once his hips go down, that's my time where I could then lean forward and do a big strike. Okay, but this is jiu-jitsu, all right? So, you know, we're not going to ground and pound with the gis on. All right, sometimes I want to, but no, I'm just kidding. Anyways, but here, change the game. Now work on these wrists, okay? And get these arms out of the way before you come back down, okay? Just understand that that is a necessary thing for them. You can even use sleeves, okay? And start to, you know, take away the ability for him to use that arm. And now I can come back down. I can start to attack the other side, you know, and set my game up from here, all right? And like this, understand that if he does turn, this is a situation where his arm is overturning, where I'm going to get behind him, okay? I know I mentioned not to use the technical mount before, but understand that there's differences. There's his elbow here and him turning his shoulders, and me trying to use the technical mount in this situation. This isn't good for me. But if his arm is all the way over here, this is much different. Now I can get into, you know, his neck, I can get to his back, I can go to arm bars, all those things are good. So there's different types of technical mounts. If we get that big turning reaction where you can get behind them, that's going to be a good technical mount. But if we're talking about a good frame, I don't want to go technical mount against a good frame, okay? And elbows in, all right? Because now I'm not going to be able to take advantage of him being on his side, okay? But if he goes to his side and he's exposed and open, then that's a different story, all right? Now we can go there and definitely finish them, okay? And I did some of that recently at the Dallas Open. I was able to get some of these positions, and it took me to the back, and I ended up finishing all arm bars that weekend, and gi and no gi, and they're all different types, but anyways, that's a side story. But those are matches that I will be breaking down and you know, using as illustrations, or I always try to show, you know, everything that I teach, I do, and that's one great feedback that I get from my students is they can easily see me using the techniques and the concepts, the strategies in competition, and see them work in action, all right? But I think that's about it. I think those are the main questions that we got in. I hope that that you guys have enjoyed this class. We've gone over an hour. Some very powerful stuff was presented here, and I hope this has a very positive impact on your game, whether it's one of these specific details, techniques, or just the mindset, all right? You know, if all you really got from today is when you mount to be patient, I think that's gonna make a big difference already, okay? Don't force anything, don't rush, let the submissions come to you, you know, and how to combine your submission attacks with your control, all right? You're gonna be able to hold your positions for longer the more you're threatening their neck and their arm, all right? If you're only holding to hold, then they only have to focus on escaping. Once you threaten their neck and their arm and they have to defend those things, that's gonna keep you in those good positions even longer, all right? So even if we're talking about side control or the back, you know, you always must keep them under threat, okay? This is another big deal, especially when it comes to passing the guard. I always talk about, you know, creating these double threat situations where I can pass and attack a submission at the same time. So they're not sure where to put their hands and they can't defend everything, you know? And I'm essentially making that same concept happen even after I'm already in a good position, because I'm never just holding them. I'm blocking their escapes and developing my submissions at the same time. So there's always two things happening at once. All right. And remember, when you get to a dominant position, it's rare that I'm going to mount someone and they're going to already be here. That they're going to start like this. Okay. If you mounted them or you passed their guard, you got to side control, you got inside that space because there was an opening. Something was wrong. They gave their head. Their arm was out. You know, there's an underhook. There's something available to you immediately. Always look and say, what can I attack right now? But without rushing. You know, if it's just putting a hand on the collar or hooking and trapping an arm and keeping it in a bad place, you know, making a Kimura grip, making them worry about their arm will allow you to stay in that position longer. And then maybe when they're worried about their arm, boom, you mount, or boom, you switch to the neck or the back, something like that. And so always multiple threats happening at the same time. And if you join my Timeless Jiu-Jitsu website, you're going to get a lot of me teaching that, teaching those concepts in so many different positions. All right. So, anyways, I hope to see you inside the Timeless Jiu-Jitsu Academy. And I look forward to working with you and doing so many more of these live classes to meet your specific needs and goals and answer all your questions. And as I give you more and more content and technique, and you come up with questions, we will do these lives, and I will film more stuff. You know, it'll be very specific according to what you need. And so I hope to have you in there. I want to just help as many people as possible, and I fully believe in the ability of this website to take your game to the next level and give you a little bit more of that timeless jiu-jitsu mindset that's going to give you the longevity to be able to do what we love so much, this amazing art, for the rest of our lives and do it successfully and at a high level. At the end of the day, you know, that's all we can ask for. It's just to be on the mats for the rest of our lives. So I look forward to that opportunity with you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Felipe. Muito obrigado.
Thanks, Sensei.
And that's it, guys. We got some more great stuff in store, so you'll be hearing from me again soon. I wish you all the best. Have a great Tuesday, and I'll see you next time.